Well, hello guys, and welcome to a new video on Terracards, where we try to answer whether or not infinity is possible. In my last video, I showed the workings on how to get to day 900 plus, but a few days later, a new patch came and made things harder. Rerolls no longer decrease in cost, which makes it harder. In my last video, I said that 900 plus was possible, and I thought that it would be possible to get to day 1000, and if we get to day 1000, it should prove that theoretically it is possible to repeat the same process over and over and basically go on forever, and thus reaching infinity. Now a new patch is here, so the question remains, is it possible for us to get to 1000 on patch 1.2.4 and thus prove that infinity indeed is possible? Join me here in this video and find out. As always, the footage is 2.5 hours long, so I have sped it up for your convenience, but if anyone requests me to upload the video in its entirety, I will do it. Anyway, here we go. As you can see, by now we are at day 180, and we have most of the things we need to go infinite. We have the fuel grapes essence, and we have a lot more income than taxes, so we should be able to survive until we can set up enough fuel income to get us to the stack overflow range. Now, it is a bit harder to do it now, as we cannot halve the reroll costs, so there will be a hard limit on how much we can reroll. The trick we use to make the most out of our rerolls is that we show restraint using the rerolls until we get 2 essences that make us get most out of each pick. And that is that flush essence that makes every card you draw be the same card, but you can only draw 4 cards, and the essence that increases your hand size so that you can get 6 cards of the same card. If you pick the essences in that order, you will, instead of only getting 4 cards, you will get 6 out of the same cards. That way we can get 6 fuel cows every time we rerolled until we get fuel cows. Now, one thing I have discovered in these new patches is that the sparkly buildings, such as the Cross and the Chocolate Factory and the Easter Bunny, they seem to no longer show up after the first time you pick them. It is no problemo for this strategy, as we actually only want 1 Easter Bunny anyway, but I think it's worth noting that it seems to have been changed in the matter of how many Easter Bunnies you can pick from the deck. At least I have on neither of my ventures where I have attempted to reach day 1000, found a second Easter Bunny or a second Cross from the draw pile. So if you are in your game needing more Easter Bunnies, remember to not put regular bunny rabbits in the same enclosure, so you can breed them with female rabbits. Now, to talk a little bit more about the strategy I had to go into this attempt with. In the early game, I used corn to make it into popcorn to survive the early game, and since corn is very easy to get in a large quantity early, they are also a great crop to input into the biofuel combustions, so you can kickstart the fuel cow's fuel production once you're starting on that. This means that we don't have to rely as much on early game luck to be offered fuel cows without the paid rerolls, and therefore we can survive on only a few fuel cow drops. Now, secondary that I discovered in my last run is that having only 2 items produce money to pay your stack overflow taxes is risky. So I have decided that I want to go into this with grapes, and grapes converted to chocolate via the Easter Bunny, and chocolate and grapes converted into peanuts with the peanut gnomes. Another thing I wanted to do was to have some amount of ratio between how much money I would produce each day with the different products. Therefore, you see me only having a few grapes around the Easter Bunny, having 1.5 enclosure full of peanut gnomes surrounded by grapes, and an even larger field of standalone grapes. The idea is that once the products sell for a stack overflow amount of money, we want to be able to sell different kinds of combination of products to drag us out of the negative range. So for value, we are producing some amount of peanuts, 50% more grapes, and double that again in chocolate. To keep this ratio as it is also why you are not seeing me put down a chocolate factory this game. You might think that it would be a good idea to process the peanuts into crushed peanuts and peanut butter so you can have even more financial legs to stand on, but boy, can I promise you that is a bad idea. In my last attempt, I did that and the lag was insane. I think that the game might have issues with processing billions of items at the same time. Maybe because they have to calculate paths and so on, and that could explain why they chose to nerf the fuel grapes so that they no longer could be processed in structures. Of course, there's also that health danger involved in drinking wine made from 100% of oil, so there is also that. As you can see from the current footage, we are indeed making stack overflow amounts of money by day 700, and we have turned off autosell. This proves that it should be possible within patch 1.2.4 to reach day 900 and beyond. Now, the most tedious thing about these runs is that you will sit around for over an hour within the game and just place down more things on your farm every third day while waiting for days to pass. At this point in the video, I think I'm about 90 minutes into the run, and I still have an hour more ahead of me to place random things to get to day 900. As I pointed out in my last video, you really want to hold out on the things that cause your game to lag. I have not identified all of them, as my game is also running a bit laggy now, but the essence that lets you grow grains randomly is at least one source to more lag. And the two other essences that you never see me pick, I just find annoying to deal with. If you have animals in enclosures, they will breed, and if you have many of them, you will have like a million cards afterwards, unless that has also been changed recently. Also, the transportation tubes seems to lag the game. I guess that it also might have something to do with pathfinding. Anyway, I try to stay away from those as well. If you're wondering what I am doing now, this is the part of the video where I thought that if I subtly wrote subscribe with the random things I got, that some of you might consider to actually do it. Subscribing and liking the video helps me out a lot, as it proves that at least one other person out there cares about making pixels within video games showing high numbers. So if you want to support me, subscribing and liking and all of that is greatly appreciated. Now we are entering the part of the run where we have to manually control that we can stay in the positives by selling the correct products at the correct time. The trick is to try to sell off goods so that you are close to, but not exceeding, 9 quintillion. That is 9 followed by 18 other digits. As you can see, I am constantly looking at the difference between how much the goods is worth from day to day to gauge whether or not I have enough production to feel that I can handle taxes at any production cycle. I did land on that I still needed a few more fuel cows into the rotation, as I wanted to be able to produce products at predictable values. I ended up to produce enough fuel that I will produce about 1.3 quintillion worth of peanuts every day. This means that I could confidently sell them whenever I had less than 7 quintillion monies, and if I saved them up for 7 days, I would always be able to kick back from any negative value the stack overflow sends us into. Now, I think I had not accounted for is that the essences that that makes every 10th day cause crops to overproduce. Now, the grapes is overwritten by the fuel grapes, but I noticed that the production is fluctuating somewhat, and I think that the reasoning might be that the crops feeding into the biofuel generator might cause fuel levels to fluctuate. That is something to watch out for in the future runs, and maybe not pick that essence. Now that we have confidently passed our last record and are half on the way from day 900 to day 1000, I was very confident that day 1000 should be possible. I was not necessarily confident that I would make it to 1000 in this run, as we had quite some close calls. At one point, I intentionally sold off some chocolates, I think, and it pushed me into the negatives. But luckily, I managed to get out of it and survived. As we were getting closer and closer to day 1000, I began to stress out a little bit. I had been playing the game for over 2 hours straight, and pressing spacebar when we are in the negative could end the run just like that, so close to the finish line. Luckily, the game lags so much at this point that the muscle memory is not on autopilot anymore. Anyway, here we have it. Day 1000. I do hope you enjoyed this ride with me. If you did, please consider commenting, liking the video, or subscribing, as it helps me out immensely. That was it for now. Harbinger out.